to extend the 12-inch figure line with The Empire Strikes Back, but it was around the introduction of The Empire Strikes Back that they actually canceled the line. So updated costumes for Han, Luke, and Leia never made it to market. These are hand-sewn samples, of which they made only a few of each that were shown at Toy Fair. And they had different routing for Leia's hair, updating her with a gun. Han and Luke have new outfits based on the new movie, and then they were even going to plan a Lando doll. So there's a sculpt of the Lando head. Lando was going to be introduced in the line as well. But before all this stuff got to market, the line was canceled because of competition from the smaller figures that were immensely successful.
And it's interesting that the ones that were not released would have been fairly easy to do. I mean, there's not a lot of extra cost involved in updating the Han, Luke, and Leia. And the only one that they really did release, other than the Boba Fett, but the one that they released exclusively in Empire logo was IG-88. Again, an obscure bounty hunter that, if he moves, it's barely, has no lines, and can easily be thought of as a background, and they decided to make an action figure of the large size for that one.
And they reused a lot of tooling from the first film. You have the belts, all the belts on Luke and Leia's belts are all just slightly modified from the A New Hope versions, different paint colors, and a couple of additions. The lightsabers, the same molds it gets from A New Hope. You have the Han blasters on Han and Leia, and the goggles that Han has are actually from a $6 Million Man outfit. So Kenner just used a $6 Million Man goggles from some strange outfit Steve Austin had. And then they actually got pretty far along in making these 12-inch figures because they made box samples for it. So they were, there's literature of, how many would ship in a case and so on, and the weight of these items. And so they got very far along into making them in the sense that they were already planning packaging, they were planning on releasing for Empire Strikes Back. And these are some box flats from that. Another item from this era, they were trying to explore how Yoda would, play into toys, and so this was an early concept for a Yoda puppet. Basically, it's mostly soft materials, like a plush toy, but not, but it's really a hand puppet. And then this huge head that your hand would go in, and you would control it as a puppet. For cost reasons, they decided not to issue this, so they explored this, but then looked at what it would cost them to make it, and decided to go with the kind of all plastic, Yoda puppet toy that's not a very interesting toy. And today it's not a very popular toy with collectors. And this was kind of a more elaborate toy.
One of the people that actually was working on this project is here at the convention this weekend, and she was just telling some fascinating stories about how the people that would come up with the idea would be like, well, we want his ears to move, and we want the mouth to move, and all the eyes were going to move, and the kid was going to be controlling all this. Some 4-year-old kid was going to be controlling all of this with their tiny little hand, and and basically it was like, okay, that's what we want, go fix it, and go make it happen. And this it kind of works its way down to becoming more and more realistic until they finally ended up with just that lump of plastic that they did release. So this would have been a much better product.
And another concept with Yoda was this talking Yoda doll. So this was kind of based on the pull-string talking dolls that were around at the time, and basically it was a plush Yoda doll, so it basically made of cloth, stuffed cloth, and then some rubber component. And so it's just kind of a soft goods item. And then you pull the string, and Yoda would say about 8 or 10 different expressions from the movie, and it used actual recordings from the movie. It wasn't some approximation or something like that. It was actually based on the technology then, sounds from his recordings from the movie.
In the UK, they decided to kind of have a little fun, and on Empire Day, with holiday, they came up with Happy Empire Day buttons from the UK. Just kind of gave these out. There's t-shirts and buttons. It's kind of a variation on the Vader in Flames artwork that Macquarie had designed, but this is just kind of a fun little, I guess, obscure piece to show you that there's pretty much anything that you can imagine other than puzzles. They did release for The Empire Strikes Back.
then we couldn't finish a talk without plugging our books. So if you want to learn more about Empire Strikes Back Collectibles, we just gave a really small sample of them, but our comprehensive guide to Star Wars Collectibles covers every Empire Strikes Back item ever made, so that at least that we know about, all the countries, from the release, and we actually index it by country, and then some of the prototype items we also covered in our prototype guide. Additionally, Doug and I wrote an article for the program for Celebration 5. If you bought the program in the Celebration store, there's one on Empire Strikes Back Collectibles that we wrote, and we have some of the photography in there as well. So with that, thank you very much, and we can take some questions.
I had two questions. One about the clappers. How is it that the chalk wasn't faded or rubbed off the header or the and two, were you kidding about the Wampa roar?
Yes, I was kidding about the Wampa roar. Sorry, my sarcasm doesn't translate well sometimes. Yes, that is not a legitimate statement there. They did not originally intend for the Wampa to go around going Wampa Wampa. But good question.
Yeah, the other question was about the clapper and about the chalk staying on the clapper. It's a really good question, because when you see the image, it looks as if the chalk is pristine. It says The Empire Strikes Back. So actually what they do is the Empire Strikes Back is actually painted on. So some of the lettering is painted in white paint. And it's actually the face, flip back to all the way back to the, but anyway, here, let me just go back to it to just show you. And basically, yeah, you see like the kind of the lettering, Irvin Kershner and Empire Strikes Back, all that's painted on. Whereas the chalk part, the lower part, you can see is rubbed and faded off. And you can see they continue to update it, erase it, and it never fully erases unless you wash it really thoroughly. But they will paint on the stuff that's going to be the same throughout the whole film. And in general, they buy new clappers for every new movie.
I want to know if there's a market, or if they have available, the little books that used to come when you bought a toy or a play set that told you the upcoming toys and play sets that are going to be in the same season, I guess, or
yes. Yeah, so
getting those as kids, those are like crack.
Oh, exactly. When you first get that new book, and you could look through and see what was going to be the next thing. So.
Yes, the question was about the small booklets that came in the toys, and yeah, I mean there are collectors that do go after them and so on. The thing is, so many of those things were made that there isn't high demand for it. They don't have a high price point in the secondary market today, but they are actually collected extensively.
What would something like that sell?
That's a good question. So the thing is about what an item like the clapper really would sell for today. It's hard to say. Film clappers is an interesting area. Actually, it's a good plug for the next talk, which is going to be on original films and movie memorabilia. But a lot of that stuff can get very pricey when it turns up. It's not like Empire Strikes Back clappers. You can just turn around and find them every day. There are a few though that have gotten into private hands. The tough part with stuff like this is authenticating them. But items like this start to run into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. There was an Empire Strikes Back clapper, an authentic one, used in the movie. It actually turned up on eBay a few years ago, and I don't think even very many people saw it. It went for a fairly low price on eBay. But it was one of those things like, are you going to trust it's on eBay? Do you trust the guy actually had a real clapper, and it turned out to be actually an authentic clapper. So that it depends on an item like that. There isn't as much of a set of data points to establish a market price. They're fairly rare, and so rarer, high demand items, of course, tend to go for a bit more. Yep. Yes, the question was comment on the date because it's after the wrap party. So I don't know if you caught my comment when we went through the wrap party invite, but actually, yeah, so the wrap party had a late August date, and this has a September 10th date. And I think the principal photography actually ended something like September 12th, something like that. It was actually well into September when they actually finished all the principal photography. So Empire Strikes Back went over time and over budget, but they had the wrap party earlier. And so I've seen other shots of clappers with dates actually later than September 10th. So you would expect a clapper from the film that was used throughout the film would have a date pretty much at the end of filming, like this date. because you used it, they kept putting like masking tape over it with updated dates. As you can see, there's thick layers of masking tape on the bottom. But it actually, in the case of The Empire Strikes Back, it actually continued well after the wrap party, which is kind of strange.
Can you tell us some other items that have the vertical THE?
Yeah, so you're referring to the question was about other items that have the vertical THE. Most of the places where I've seen it is in just early McQuarrie sketches, so like products that have used McQuarrie artwork, Ralph McQuarrie artwork from The Empire Strikes Back, you'll see the logo on the left. I'm not aware of really any other product, like outside of Ralph McQuarrie art type products.
I'm not aware of anything else other than that has that logo on it. Nothing production-wise or anything like that. Oh, here first.
Crew items, was there anything practical as opposed to
Yeah, the question is, was there any other purpose for the crew items other than for them to just resell?